Well, good evening. Um, one of my earliest, probably most clear memories is sitting on a hardwood floor in our my parents' apartment in Brooklyn, 1529 Day Hill Road, to be exact. And that would be in Flatbush, if you're not sure where it is, uh, with albums of 78 RPM records, vinyls, if you're too young to really have a good idea of what records are, but you do know what vinyls are. Um, Albums of show tunes, Oklahoma, Carousel, South Pacific. And that was in the old days when they used to come with, wooden covers, carved wood covers. And there were sleeves of three, four, five, 78 RPM records in each. And pointing at which records I wanted to listen to from which different shows. So my exposure to the world of American musical theater started at a very, very early age. And I've said this often, and to anyone who lives, I have no idea how my parents afforded um, tickets to go to Broadway uh, to see shows, but I do remember getting all dressed up when I was very, very young and going to the theater to experience live music. Did I happen to mention that today is Sunday? Today is Sunday, October 27th, 2019, and this is Journal 208, T+208, just for the sake of documenting where we are and what we're doing. Um, so my experience with the American musical theater started very, very early, and my love for live theater, mostly musical theater, um, began at that time. And I can probably document. I can tell you the number of. Uh, I can't tell you the number of shows that I've seen, but I can tell you, um, what some of them were, and still have no idea to this day how my parents managed to scrape together the money to make that happen. But it was evidently very important to them, and it's also very important to Lesley and me, and we go as often as we can. So I was struggling. I was really in the middle of a pitched battle with myself and what I wanted to really talk about tonight. Um, Whether I wanted to talk about the experience of the last 24 hours or so, or I wanted to talk about another subject that kind of spun off the last three or four blog posts that we did on agile learning and agile learners and applied um, curiosity. I've kind of decided to talk about the theater because um, it goes to the heart of the whole notion of recovery and a little normalcy, please. Um, Moving inch by inch closer to what most people would consider as a normal life. Um, Not so easy to do, but in the last 24 hours or so, we managed to get closer. And that was, that's a milestone. It's milestones worth mentioning um, as we move closer and closer towards a life that, life's treasures that unfortunately we fail to consider as remarkable, uh, missing missing the magic in each one of those remarkable moments. So the other night we had friends over. We had uh, four couples come to the house and for coffee and to just sit around and talk. My wife calls it, what is it, the three C's: coffee, cake, and conversation. And it doesn't sound like anything special. Most people would take that for granted and never even think about it twice. But when you haven't been able to do that for almost a year, when you haven't been able to do that for more than 10 or 11 months, it's really pretty special. Um, and it doesn't matter what the conversation was, it's just the warmth and um, satisfaction you get from proximity, from being that close, recognizing that we're pack animals essentially, and we like to live in hives and groups. So that was one of the things that made this weekend really special. And the other thing that made it special was going to the first show at the Hollywood Pantages Theater in the season and being able to go ahead and reactivate our season tickets, which we had to give up while I was in treatment. Admittedly, we must have looked really strange. I was wearing a hat. I was wearing my mask. Lesley takes sterile wipes and we pack them in what was a large pill dispenser so that we can put in 5 or 6 or 7 of those sterile wipes, in the liquid, and then, wipe down the armrests of the seat and wipe down the seat so I could sit there. And I purelled my hands and, I took care of all of the stuff that I have to do to be careful. And I wore my mask throughout the whole show and what have you. But I was able to go to the musical theater. I was able to sit and enjoy a live orchestra and listen to incredibly talented people perform um, in a large theater. Uh, if you've never been to the Hollywood Pantages, I recommend that you come to. If you come to California, it's one of the things that you really should see because it's a 1920s or 30s Art Deco edifice that's just incredible, recently redone. It's an amazing experience, and I highly recommend it. Um, and despite having to drive down there in the traffic and having to drive home in the traffic and what have you, it was another one of those really important moments when you realize that a year ago you couldn't do this. A year ago, it was too dangerous. It's still dangerous. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not. It's not lost on me. I understand that. Um, you still you still shudder when you hear a cough or a sneeze. Thankfully, today they were far away from us in another section of the theater. But just the notion that a year ago we had to give up a season ticket seats, and couldn't attend the theater, um, and we were able to do that today, is really meaningful. I mean, it fills you with a tremendous sense of gratitude for the doctors and nurses who took care of you, for Lesley for taking care of me as well as she did, for all our friends and our dear friends that supported us throughout this whole um, adventure, this odyssey, and all of you who've supported us throughout this odyssey. And I thought that it was really important to share um, that gratitude, to let you how much um, we appreciate that, to let you know that you're recognized for the role you played in that. Um, and the important role that plays in the life of everyone who's challenged, everyone who has got a health crisis that they're dealing with. Um, and to suggest, strongly urge anybody that's listening to this to support those folks like you supported me any way you can, because it's an important part of a healthy, complete, and speedy recovery. Um, it's as important as musical theater is. It's as important as being with others. So, on that happy note, and it really is a happy note, thank you all for being part of my universe, being part of my world, uh, and for the important role that you've played in bringing me to this moment where we are well enough so that we can do something like that. Till tomorrow, stay well, take care. Talk to you then. Wish me luck on my interviews.